What is happening, guys? My name is Jamie and today we are reviewing Yes, Closer to the Edge, an album that was released back in 1972. We continue with this classic rock period. Now, last time I did something with Yes, and I know there is a few fans of Yes on the channel, because I do know, because you remember I used to really explore their music, and I think I did a whole album review for Going Forward 1, which is absolutely amazing album. I think I did one track, but Yes is a very good band. I really enjoy their music. It's so complex, the music, but yet you can tell that a lot of emotion is conveyed within the music. And Closer to the Edge is such a really interesting album overall. Combining about 38 minutes with only 3 tracks, it just takes you onto a wondrous adventure, and I absolutely adore this album. Going back and listening to it this week again, I just couldn't help but just feel so in love with this album once more, because I haven't checked out a Yes album for a very long time, probably about 6 months or something. It was so good to just go back to Yes and explore one of the best albums of prog rock in my opinion, and that is Closer to the Edge. So on this album, on vocals we had John Anderson, and on guitar we had Steve Howe. On bass and backing vocals we had Chris Squire. On keyboards we had Rick Wakeman. Drums we had Bill Rutherford. This album was released back in 1972, and it was a very interesting time for Yes. It surely was. This was their 5th studio album, so the overall production is actually pretty good. It's quite solid. I just love the in-depth guitars on this album. Not to mention Anderson's vocals are absolutely fantastic. The harmonization throughout some of these songs, especially through Siberian Khatru and You and I, it just reminds me of something Queen would do, especially in the vocal style, the harmonization. It's so damn good, the vocals, and I just really enjoy the overall keyboard tone and the overall bass melody. How this album is incredibly atmospheric. It first kicks off with Close to the Edge, that epic 18-minute song, and I just love the intricate passages throughout this song, especially introduction, where it slowly builds up from an atmospheric natural sound that leads on to such incredible progressive elements, odd time signatures that it really encapsulate the listener. Then it leads on to such odd time signatures and crazy wankery stuff. Overall, it's all telling a story. Now, the lyrics on Close to the Edge, I believe that Anderson was really inspired by Lord of the Rings by writing this song. And now the overall themes on this album, I believe that this was much more a spiritual themed album. You were trying to find your spiritual body and also find the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? And that's what I felt. I felt the pure emotion conveyed throughout Close to the Edge, and not to mention the solos by Howe as well is absolutely fantastic on this particular song, and the vocal harmonization by Anderson. The melodies, the distinctive dynamic melodies will just melt your heart. It really will, and I just love the overall chord progression as this song progresses. And there is an awesome keyboard solo by Rick Wakeman that just really enhances the song in the next level. I just love how epic and symphonic this album feels, because in the middle section it really reminds me how maybe Dream Theater were definitely inspired by this particular section in Illumination Theory, where you just get a symphonic passage that really builds up towards the next section. That's what I fucking love. This section is absolutely magnificent. I just love the symphonic elements that are building throughout this section. Might be because of the keyboards that just really create this atmospheric vibe. And the way the song ends is absolutely magnificent. Not to mention, the actual song itself is proggy, but it's incredibly melodic and quite catchy in tone if you listen to the album a few times over and over again. But yeah, Close to the Edge is an amazing way to kick off this fucking album. Leads on to And You and I. And You and I is another fantastic fucking song by this band. I just love how it's folk oriented. Not to mention, there's a lot of acoustic guitar, maybe 12-string guitar that is incorporated throughout this song. And yeah, Anderson really shines throughout this song as well, with his distinctive dynamic vocals that really escalate the song. It's also proggy, stretching around about 10 minutes. A 10-minute song. There's just at times some really nice solos throughout this, some incredible keyboard moments as well that again creates this atmosphere. And definitely it's talking about your search for your spirit or something like that, your search for your soul maybe, because Anderson had a very spiritual mind, especially on this particular album. But yeah, absolutely fantastic song. I love the overall melodies. The melodies intertwine with each other. At times there's odd time signatures, but it still stays true to that core melodic feel for and You and I. Obviously, like I said, the search for your body and the search for your spiritual meaning, and maybe it's also a search for God or something or an entity or something like that in order to find the answers. But overall, I love the lyrics, I love the meaning of the songs, and yeah, and You and I is another fantastic fucking song. And now we go on to the last song, which is Siberian Khatru. Siberian Khatru is an absolutely fantastic song. Of course, it's very psychedelic, you could say. It's quite a psychedelic song, even though even Close to the Edge is quite psychedelic as well. It's got that psychedelic prog feel. Siberian Khatru is more psychedelic because it's got a really funk groove to this song, especially the gritty guitar riffs by Howe as well. And I just love the overall bass melody by Chris Squire and a nice harmonization by Chris Squire as well with Anderson. And I just really enjoy the overall flow of this song. And there's really nothing much I can say. I love the ending. The ending ends epically. It's another epic song by this band. Dare I say that each single song off Closer to the Edge is a fucking epic. It really is. Cause although this is a shorter song, around about 9 minutes, it still packs an epic punch, and it's a great way to close off the album. Although if I had to be nitpicky, maybe Closer to the Edge should have closed off the album, in my opinion. That's just one nitpick. And You and I maybe should have started. I understand what they were doing, but maybe if it was modern day, maybe they would have closed off the album with Closer to the Edge. Because usually I've noticed that in the 70s, an epic usually starts off the album, which is very interesting. I mean, very interesting. And nowadays, an epic closes with. But yeah, a fantastic fucking album by this band, Yes. And honestly, I will be doing more album reviews by Yes in the near future. Since we are doing classic rock and metal now, we are going to combine these two genres onto this channel, and I will be doing more rock related reviews. So I'll be doing more Rush, and I'll be doing more Yes, and I'll be also diving into Deep Purple, and also reviewing the classic metal bands such as Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, and even Judas Priest albums, because I really want to get out my thoughts to you guys about those particular albums. Gotta appreciate this album. This album would be definitely an inspiration for many other bands out there, including prog bands such as Dream Theater, you could say, and even Opeth, even Symphony X, you could say. But yeah, I just at times love those symphonic orchestral elements that are building throughout this album, especially on Closer to the Edge, the first track. But overall, it's a stellar album by Yes, but it's not my favorite album by Yes, but damn, it's still a fucking great album, so it's a 9.5 out of 10. Overall, man, this album's fantastic. Closer to the Edge is a 9.5 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Guys, comment below if you heard Yes, and comment below if you heard this album as well. Keep the discussion going in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.